Mark, lovely
nice
to meet you. Thanks so much for joining us in Havn.
Thank you for having us.
Get yourself strapped in.
Yeah, absolutely. Safety first.
Safety first and all that, absolutely.
Fancy door handles on the outside here. We were a bit worried we weren't going to be able to get in.
Cool. So you guys are the co-founders of Beeline.
Correct.
We are, yeah.
Amazing. So tell us about Beeline.
So Beeline, we do navigation for bikes and motorbikes.
Okay.
And so if you're someone who rides a bike or a motorbike, we sell a device I've actually got. I can show you what we sell.
Very nice.
So we
Show
have,
and tell.
Yeah, exactly. On the other side. So we have two consumer products. We have the motorbike device, which is essentially like a little,
Show this to the camera.
a really like minimalist navigation device that goes on your handlebars.
Okay.
We also have one for bicycles, which is this one, slightly different. We first launched this one, and then secondly we launched the motorbike one. Cool. So we do that side of things, but then we also work with businesses to integrate navigation into their bicycles, or motorbikes. So whether that's a cycling, a bicycle manufacturer, or if it's someone who has a fleet of bikes that they use for hiring out, then we can integrate navigation into those.
Amazing.
It's all about helping people get around on two wheels, whatever way they.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes of all of this, these are just the what you see on the handlebars, but there's all the software that runs behind that and the app that connects up to it.
Right.
Build as well.
And you guys own and developed
we
all of
build all
that,
that in-house. Yeah.
in the background as well. Amazing. Obviously, I presume the idea for this was very much kind of founded on the safety of when you're out and about and keeping an eye on the road and not needing to, you know, check your phone and just to be able to glance down and see where you're going.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was pretty organic. It was just from me and Mark getting annoyed, getting lost on our bikes.
I read about this. It was you met for coffee or something, and you turned up late because you couldn't find. Right, you got lost.
Mark turned up late for lunch. We were actually meeting up to talk about potential business ideas and things we might be able to launch ourselves, because we're quite keen to do that. And Mark was late on his bike because he got lost, because you know, doing that thing that everybody does, which is look at your phone, try and remember a route, put it back in your pocket, ride along for a bit, get lost. So we thought we'd try and fix that.
So quite serendipitous, right? I love that. That's awesome. So you started the business back in 2015.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and you launched on Kickstarter, right?
Yes.
So what made you decide to go down that route and go down the crowdfunding?
Well, I think it's a really good way to, in the early days, to understand if there's an audience and a market for what you're making. And so right in the early days, we always kind of had the attitude that, you know, we'll work this to the next step, and then we'll see how it goes at that step, and then we'll kind of gradually build up in that way, and so that we could really guarantee that we were working on something that matters to people.
Yeah.
And so the Kickstarter happened really quickly. Actually, we started the company in the summer, really, and then the Kickstarter happened in October. So we only had a few months where we were working on something without really knowing there was a market for it.
Very pragmatic approach, right? To at every stage, test, make sure there's a demand for it.
We're kind of healthily cynical of ourselves at the beginning, I think, kind of always saying, if this doesn't work at the next stage, then fine, we can it.
I love that.
But here we are, 4 or 5 years on.
Yeah, I know, congratulations, guys. Yeah, amazing. Did you, obviously with that mindset, did you expect to be like here in 2020, 5 years down the line?
Good question. I don't know, it depends on the day.
I can imagine.
There have probably been days when we were launching that Kickstarter campaign, it was going well, when we thought would be, would be Steve Jobs by now. There were also, there have also been times when it hasn't looked so great, and we feel like we're quite lucky to be here. So I guess one thing that is definitely not what we expected is exactly what we're doing now. If you'd asked on day one where we thought we might be in 5 years in that kind of optimistic scene, it would have been selling loads of devices for cyclists and in Halfords and Evans and all that sort of stuff. But actually where we're going with it is through all this, you know, dealing with people who make bikes and businesses with these fleets and building the software underlying that, which is not what we would have predicted at the time.
Right.
So certainly taking different tangents.
Super interesting. And how did you find the Kickstarter campaign? Were there any like surprising results or?
I mean, it was really exciting, to be honest. It was just because we had no idea whether it would work or not, and it was quite immediately, like, it was immediately obvious that it was going to be successful.
Amazing.
So yeah, it was a brilliant month, I think. And then I think it dawned on us after the Kickstarter closed that we had loads of work to do.
It's like, wow, we've got to get on with this.
It's a funny moment.
Actually a weird feeling.
It's a funny moment at both ends, because at the beginning of the Kickstarter, there's this thing where you've been working on it and you know it really well, but you haven't shown anyone else in the world about it really.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, they like it, well, they're not.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, we had this thing where everything we'd done for the last few months was working to that Kickstarter campaign, and we were like, now what?
Yeah. We've got to do it. It's such a great way to get that real kind of testing if there is actually that market demand. So that's awesome. So you guys, you met previously, right? So you both worked at McKinsey years ago. So that's how you first, like, your paths crossed. But before that, both of you have got such interesting backgrounds. So I read you used to be a science teacher, which is so cool.
Right, yeah.
And you used to be in the army, is that right?
So overegging it a bit, TA, reserve stuff,
So who would have expected, I read, was it the platoon commander was your title, and a science teacher come together for a cycling?
One is distinctly more cool than the other. But I'll let you decide.
I'm not sure about that. Next generation.
At least you were legitimately a science teacher. Those were all fake platoon.
I wasn't embellished.
That's interesting. Is it better to be a fake cool thing or a genuine? I think it's cool.
Let the people decide. Yeah.
Maybe we should have some sort of voting mechanism on this.
So what? I have to ask, like, where was the switch in, like, career path here, going into entrepreneurship? I'm sure there's a cool story there as well for both of you.
Well, for me, from the platoon commander bit to the McKinsey bit was quite easy, because the platoon commander bit was just TA stuff while I was at uni.
Right. Okay.
So I finished uni and went into the McKinsey bit, but I always quite liked the idea of doing something myself, and so what I did in between was working out in Africa, where it was kind of building a business for somebody else.
Wow.
It was a kind of step in that direction. And I think we both just had quite itchy feet for it.
Yeah.
You were at McKinsey for a bit more, but we were very keen to get going on something.
I think, like, for me it was, so I started teaching when I first left university, so that was my first job after graduating.
Cool.
Which was really cool, but it made me think, I like this job, but it's kind of doing this for the next 40 years. It seems like maybe I want to try some other things. So then I ended up doing consulting at McKinsey, and that kind of, just like opened my eyes to business, I guess, and that everything within that. But then after a few years of advising businesses without having done it myself, I think we both felt like, we should legitimize this by actually going out and doing it. And I think, like, we would probably, I'm sure Tom would say the same, like, we enjoy this a lot more than what we've done before.
Amazing.
So it kind of ticks a lot of boxes for us.
So cool, so exciting. How did the past 5 years feel like? Has it gone by quickly?
Yeah, yes and no.
Yeah.
I think it feels like so much has happened in that time, and there's things that I've forgotten that are quite big that happened in that time, because so much has happened.
Right.
But similarly, there are like distinct memories of, like, the very early stages that feel like they were 2 weeks ago as well.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of weird mix.
That so clearly stay in your mind, right? There's really clear memories. Amazing. So how do you guys, I presume that you're both avid cyclists yourself, so I guess that's something, whilst you've got the army and the teacher, that is something that you do guys both have in common. I feel like Beeline, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's sort of positioned a bit more for the adventurers and going out and discovering new routes, and more about kind of the open road as opposed to zipping around the city, right? Like inner urban travel. Well,
it's a bit more, I'd say that it's what we try to focus on is, rather than, like, it's much more about the experience itself. So it's about enjoying that experience and making that experience better. So it's not like, it's not in the same vein as something like really, really performance-based, like Strava, and it's also not in the same vein as something really, really efficiency-based, like, Google Maps. It's kind of a bit more like, you're on this journey, let's make it a good thing. Yeah, that makes complete sense. On the subject of Google, are they, how would you guys differ with them offering, like, a cycling feature on their Maps app? Well, so this is actually a bit that we're doing lots of development work on at the moment. Right. So what I mean, it's, you know, who knows what's happening under the bonnet at Google. It's all a bit of a black box. But like, if you look at cycling routes that Google would offer through Google Maps, it tends to be like slightly adjusted versions of what they might offer to a driver. Whereas what we're trying to do is really rethink the whole cycle route from the perspective of a cyclist, particularly thinking about people who want to stay away from traffic or want to feel more safe and be guaranteed of that kind of experience before they start the ride. Like we're much more trying to manage that whole experience like solely from the point of view of the cyclist.
I see.
Which I think, you know, obviously Google is an amazing like Google Maps is an amazing product, but it's very like catering for everyone, whereas we're like focused on the cyclist,
right? Like exclusively coming, and especially as you guys are such avid cyclists yourselves, you know exactly what people will want. I think I saw as well how you can kind of drag around like that cycle route, and if you wanted to kind of just, even if it's not, I guess Google Maps would be again more efficiency based and what's the quickest way, whereas actually you've got the option to have the scenic
so you
route.
Can sort of pick up the route and adjust it and move if you know where you want to go. But yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. That it's going back to that thing about the nice experience. Our routing is all about the experience as well. So yeah, and you say like we're avid cyclists, but actually the way we try and do this is by getting lots of other avid cyclists to tell us what's best.
Amazing.
So rather than people sitting behind a computer and thinking, well, cyclists probably like it when there's a cycle superhighway, we get loads of people out there and telling us what works, and that's what helps us to understand where to send people.
Yeah, amazing. Again, it goes back to that constant market testing and feeding back and making sure that it's very much with the
like
consumer at the heart.
Level,
I love that. So how do you guys usually get around town then? Obviously we picked you up in South London and we're heading over west, so do you usually cycle around town?
No, I normally go in an electric cream leather seated limo.
So you usually travel around in a Jag?
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't your normal mode of transport.
We're slumming it today, yeah,
exactly.
No, on a rickety old bike is my preferred mode of transport.
Yeah.
Is your office quite near? Is that South London as well?
South London, Bermondsey.
So that's cycling
I personally
distance.
we both go from southwest to southeast. Yeah, so
nice.
It's sort of 10k for me.
Yeah, amazing. Good way to stay fit as well, right? Best way to enjoy the city.
Actually, in many circumstances, it's also faster.
Yeah,
so I'm
definitely.
I'm like watching my watch for this to see like the difference.
Yeah. No, definitely, it's the best way to like zip around. So, what are your thoughts? Obviously, like cycling is, especially sustainability has come so much to the fore, which is only a great thing, obviously, that it's becoming so much more talked about. The transportation sector has such an opportunity to do loads in that space, reducing carbon emissions. Cycling's obviously number one, but sometimes it's not always the most practical option, right? So if you've got loads of bags or you're traveling with others or whatever. So what are your views? Obviously we're sat in an electric car, so this is also, if you guys weren't already aware, this is Jaguar's first electric car that they launched. So it's the I-Pace, and it came out last year and it just smashed it on the awards scene. So it's got like 62 awards and counting or something. It's like the most awarded car ever. So which you can see why.
It's very nice.
Nice way to enjoy the city. So obviously, like with that in mind and all of the innovations happening in like electric vehicles, shared mobility, bike sharing schemes, like what are just your general thoughts on transport and what we can do to like help the planet, basically?
I think that exactly what you're saying at the start there, the two problems of congestion and pollution are two that are massively caused by transport, and therefore transport, improvements in transport can solve those enormously. And I think that vehicles like this really help the pollution problem, but we definitely need other solutions to solve the congestion one as well. So that's where getting more people onto small vehicles helps, and that can be people riding their own bikes, which can be encouraged just by better infrastructure and things like the navigation we're building that help people to be more confident and safer doing that. I think it's really exciting to see the wide range of transport transport modes that are being developed, where it's kind of becoming less discrete, foot, bicycle, car, and things are coming from like bike to little scooters to bikes, e-bikes,
folding bikes,
mopeds,
your bike on
electric
the bus,
mopeds,
and mixing up the channels as well. So you've got different steps. It's cool.